Okay, I think we're good to start. I hope most of you are here now. Right, good morning, everyone. I'm delighted you're joining me today on a lovely Tuesday morning in Ireland. My name is Melanie. I'm the E3 Recruitment and Admissions Officer. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Professor Brian Broderick. Professor Brian Broderick is a professor in civil, structural and environmental engineering at Trinity. He's also the global director for School of Engineering. Professor Brian Broderick is going to talk more about the programs later on, and I'm going to take you through the presentation today. Right. So first of all, we're going to have a quick look at Trinity and an overview of it. I will talk about the application process, and hopefully some of you after this webinar session will be encouraged and will be applying. For those of you who have already an offer, we're going to look at the next steps. I will also go through some scholarship opportunities that we have through Trinity and through the E3 initiatives. And then I will hand you over to Professor Brian Broderick, who is going to talk more in depth about the programs. At the end, we'll move into a Q&A session. Hopefully you will have some questions for us at the end of it. So before I start, I would like to show you a video of Trinity, and hopefully it gives you a taste what Trinity and the Trinity experience is about. So just bear with me 1 second.
Is Ireland's highest ranking university, Trinity College, Dublin. Trinity is a modern, living, breathing campus, pulsing with people, energy and ideas. It's made an indelible mark on Ireland and the world for more than 4 centuries, but its 21st century incarnation has its focus firmly fixed on the future. Today, Trinity's campus is Ireland's largest research centre, a place where leading experts from the humanities, the sciences, and medicine are creating research that matters and then turning that research into impact. Thousands of new students pass through Trinity's gates for the very first time every September. They join a community of 3,000 staff, 17,000 students, and alumni more than 130,000 strong. A community that is inclusive and welcoming and active in every corner of the globe. A community that will bring out the best in each student and help those students to make their way in life. Our students are all different, but they share one characteristic. They have never been content to accept life as they find it. They agitate. They innovate. They build new worlds. Perhaps this is why Trinity has produced 1/5 of all Irish spin-outs, more entrepreneurs than any other university in Europe, and more than half of all the Nobel laureates from the Republic of Ireland. Perhaps this is why Trinity collaborates so well with the Irish and multinational companies that make Dublin their home. Perhaps this is why Trinity has changed with every generation, and why Trinity never sits still. Perhaps this is why one of the world's great cities is home to one of the world's great universities. Trinity College, Dublin.
Right. So I hope you have just seen the introduction video on Trinity, and I hope you've all enjoyed it. Sorry, let me just turn pause there. Just 1 second.
No one in my family had gone to university.
Apologies. Right, now I would like to share some of the facts and statistics about Trinity College Dublin. Trinity was founded in 1592. It is one of the 7 ancient universities in Britain and Ireland. We're ranked #1 university in Ireland according to the latest QS World rankings. We're the top 1% universities in the world. Trinity is ranked 28th place in the world in the Times Higher Education on University Impact Rankings last year. And it is ranked first in Europe for producing entrepreneurs for the 5th year in a row, which really is very impressive. As you can see, we have over 140,000 alumni in over 150 countries worldwide. It is very much a global village here in Trinity. Well, this is probably the most iconic area of Trinity. It is Trinity's old library, completed in 1732. And without a doubt, it is one of the most impressive libraries in the world. Since 1801, it has been a legal deposit library for Ireland and Britain. It has a collection of around 7 million printed volumes and significant manuscripts, including the very renowned Book of Kells. Sorry for the audience today. Would you mind just to double check that your microphone is muted? So moving on to student support services. Obviously, coming into an institution such as Trinity College, we have all the support services you would expect, such as counseling, health, disabilities, equality, careers, multi-faith chaplaincy for which of you may wish to practice your religion. Our student union and welfare officers are there to make sure you enjoy your time in Trinity and in Ireland. As much as you learn in the classroom, you're also going to learn outside the classroom. We want to make sure you maximize your experience during your time at Trinity. And one thing I would like to say is that all registered full-time degree undergraduate students are all allocated a tutor when starting your student journey. Your tutor is a member of the academic staff and is somebody to look after your general welfare and development. You can ask your tutor for advice and guidance about anything, and they will point you in the right of directions. So about application, for those of you who haven't submitted an application, yes, we are still accepting applications for September 2020 intake. The application deadline for non-EU applicants is the 30th of June. And for EU and EEA applicants, you can apply directly through CAO, the Central Application Office, where non-EU students will have to apply directly to the university. And one thing you must note, your EU or non-EU status is not pending on your nationality, but on your residency. If you are a resident in the EU or EEA countries for 3 out of the last 5 years before applying for the course, you will be considered as an EU applicant. Admission to the university and to our engineering programs are highly competitive and very much based exclusively on academic merit. Entry requirements for the engineering programs varies, and they can be viewed through the links here. For students coming from a non-English speaking country, you will need to provide an English language exam score, such as IELTS 6.5, TOEFL 90, or equivalent. So for those of you who has already got an offer and you want to know what's next, the first thing is to accept your offer. And you may need to pay a deposit if you are a non-EU applicant. And this is to secure your seat. as there are limited places for each program. And for those of you who require a visa, you need to look at Irish Embassy in your own country. Also, my colleagues in the global office are there to help you. Accommodation. There are several accommodation options available for you to consider. We have on-campus, off-campus student accommodations available. Also, there is an accommodation advisory service, which is run by the student union, and it operates during the summertime. So whichever option you would like to choose, the accommodation office is there to help. You can research on scholarship opportunities within the university and indeed in Ireland, or opportunities in your own country. We recommend you to follow us on social media. You can follow Trinity on Twitter, Instagram, just to get updates on university's latest activities. When you have your flight booked, please do let us know, because the university offers airport meet and greet service in August and September every year. COVID-19. Well, there is so much news on the coronavirus, COVID-19, and yes, it is in Ireland as well. But the Irish government has been very proactive about it. I fully understand people are very anxious about it, and it is an evolving situation. So if you are an applicant who has been affected by the coronavirus outbreak, we encourage you to update us with relevant information. You can email us at academic.registry@tcd.ie. We try our very best to be as accommodating as possible, taking these extreme circumstances into consideration within the constraints of the overall admissions process. For example, if you have difficulty in booking English tests, if you're having difficulty in getting official transcripts or getting references from your professors, please reach out to academic.registry@tcd.ie. We're there to help. So here are the two links on our website, providing you with the most up-to-date information on COVID-19. E3. As I said earlier, I'm part of the E3 team. E3 stands for Engineering, Environment, and Emerging Technologies. This is an extremely exciting initiative, basically to address some of the grand challenges facing Ireland and the world. The new E3 Learning Foundry is being built and is due to complete by September 2022. It will deliver new teaching facilities and innovative interactive learning spaces for undergraduate and postgraduate students. E3 students will spend less time in the traditional classroom settings and will have more time working on multidisciplinary projects. The undergraduate engineering programs, and indeed the School of Engineering at Trinity, are under this E3 umbrella. Scholarships. The good news is there are a number of scholarship opportunities available. Some of these options are open to all students, where some will have restrictions based on your status. So for detailed information, you can go onto our scholarships and funding page. Today, I would like to highlight the E3 undergraduate scholarships for non-EU engineering students. It is €5,000 per year for 4 academic years. So it's €20,000 scholarship ultimately. This really is a fantastic opportunity. To apply, simply email e3.team@tcd.ie with the subject line provided there. All you need to include is your offer letter a 200-word personal statement, and a copy of your latest CV. Right, thank you so much for listening. And now I would like to hand you over to Professor Broderick, who is going to talk more about the engineering undergraduate programs. Professor Broderick is one of the noted academics in Trinity on the engineering programs. So thank you, Brian.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mel. It's great to see that so many people are on the webinar and interested in learning about engineering at Trinity. Mel has done the introduction, so next slide, please. So Trinity, of course, has a fantastic historical basis. We're over 400 years old, but in the engineering school, we're much more interested in what's happening now and what's happening in the 21st century. So part of our mission really is to transform that old basis of fundamental science and mathematics and allow people to become innovative engineers and to be involved in advancing the worlds of technology and advancing our society. And that's really the big goal of what we hope to let people learn how to do as engineering students in Trinity. Next one, next slide. Our engineering program is set up to deliver what are called the Trinity Graduate attributes. So this is what Trinity hopes that every student who comes to Trinity will be able to achieve and be able to stand over by the time that they graduate after the end of their 4 or 5 years in Trinity. You can read these more carefully later on, but you see they're quite broad, and we've embedded these very high-level goals within our engineering curriculum so that all students who come into our program will be able to achieve these learning outcomes, and these are the learning outcomes that we know that employers want to see in graduates afterwards. Next slide. This is a snapshot from a survey of graduates over recent years of where they go after they graduate. And you can see that the vast majority of them go into industry employment. In other words, they work as engineers, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, electronic engineers, computer engineers in industry. Some more go on to further study as well. Our employers in Ireland span a wide range of disciplines. We are a global hub for the technology industry. You can see some well-known names there. Well, graduates can get roles in engineering industry, in the financial sector, in the tech sector, and many other areas as well, including public and government jobs. Next slide. This is how our engineering program looks. So this flow chart shows the progression of an engineering student from years 1 and 2 on the left-hand side over to graduation on the right-hand side. We offer students the option of completing a 4-year program leading to a bachelor's degree or continuing for an extra year, 5 years in total, and receiving a master's degree at the end. Irrespective of whether you choose to do a 4-year program or a 5-year program, all students will complete a common year 1 and year 2. That means all students coming into engineering study the same subjects for the first 2 years, and at the end of second year, they then choose to specialize in the area of engineering that they want to work in afterwards. So in year 3, students select to follow curriculums or programs in biomedical engineering, or civil engineering, or computer engineering, or electronic engineering, or mechanical engineering. And there is also a very popular option to combine both electronic and computer engineering together. In year 3, there's still quite a lot of commonality between the subjects that students study, but there are differences depending on the stream that's followed. In year 4, the amount of difference increases. And in year 4, we allow students 2 different pathways, depending on whether they intend to finish their studies in Trinity after 4 years and get a bachelor's degree. So that's the first option, year 4, and that will involve completing a capstone project, which is a major project that you complete over the whole of the academic year. The second pathway in year 4 sets the student up to complete after 5 years. In year 4, there are a number of options offered to such students. The first one is to complete the year in Trinity as normal. The second one is to complete one semester in Trinity, but to take semester 2 as an internship with an engineering company. And the third option in year 4 is to go on an international exchange to another university in Europe, or indeed anywhere in the world, the US, India, Australia, a whole variety of places. For students pursuing the 5-year program, who will eventually graduate with a master's degree, year 5 features a very large research project, which will essentially amount to half of their work that year. Next slide. So this is some details of the modules or the courses that are studied in the first year, and the following slides we'll look at second year and the later years as well. You can also see the details of the number of hours a week that students typically spend in contact with their teachers and the professors, either in lectures, tutorials, or laboratory work. Year 1, as is common with many engineering programs worldwide, focuses on fundamental mathematics and sciences, while at the same time giving students an initial basis of working within the engineering itself. And there are some modules listed there: Engineering Design 1, Engineering Design 2, which are essentially project-based modules in which the students are working on their own project, either as individuals or as groups. Next slide. In second year, again, all students are taking common subjects, but in second year, we move from looking at fundamental sciences into more applied, so the application of science to engineering disciplines and technology. So for instance, you will look at thermal fluids, which is looking at aspects of physics related to heat and flow, look at solids and structures, which is aspects of physics related to mechanics and materials. And again, there's a heavy emphasis in that year as well on a lot of project work, which allows the students greater diversity in the way in which they learn. Next slide. So in years 3 and 4, there are a few common modules you can see listed at the top, but in the main, the students will pursue modules related to their own chosen engineering stream or specialization, and they're listed there again as they were in an earlier slide. You'll notice too that at the top there's a mention of a module called Trinity Elective. And a Trinity Elective allows students in second year and third year to pick one module from a wide range of modules offered by the university as a whole that lies completely outside their area of study. In other words, completely outside of engineering. It could be in the arts or humanities, it could be in another area of science or mathematics, or it could be something related to business, for instance. So an opportunity for students to explore and to take the chance to learn from the very wide range of excellent disciplines that we have at Trinity. Okay, next slide. So as I mentioned earlier, in fifth year, the main feature of that year is a large research project that each student will carry out, and being supervised by a professor such as me, who works in the School of Engineering. And those projects are largely organized through our 3 different engineering departments. So the first of those departments is the Department of Civil, Structure and Environmental Engineering, which, as Mel mentioned, is my own department. And research projects in that department address topics related to energy, especially renewable and sustainable energy like wind energy and solar, environmental projects, environmental engineering. A lot of those relate to water, but also to air pollution. Geotechnics, soil mechanics. Structures, the design, construction, and analysis of buildings and bridges, towers and masts. And transport, again, especially sustainable transport and public transport options. Next slide, please. The second of our 3 departments is the Department of Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering. And the research areas covered by that department are listed there. I won't go through all of them because there are There are 10 listed, but you can see them and read their names yourself. And there's a couple I can draw your attention to. You'll see on the top right, there's the topic related to advanced manufacturing, which of course is a really important area in modern manufacturing and modern engineering industry. And on the top left, you can see bioengineering is mentioned there. Bioengineering is a really important research field for our engineering school, and in particular this department. And that relates to the application of science and engineering methods to provide better health outcomes for patients and members of the public in general. It can involve, for instance, designing better hip replacements, or it can involve designing better ways of applying medical care in a hospital environment through instrumentation and measurement devices. Okay, next slide, please. And the third of our three departments is the Department of Electronic and Electrical Engineering. Again, you can see the areas that are covered there. Bioengineering is mentioned again. That's related to a lot of work that they do in relation to neural engineering, actually, looking at what happens in the brain. But two main areas that are dealt with there in the Department of Electronic and Electrical Engineering is looking at networks and communications. So different ways of using wireless communications and other forms of communications to connect people together. And then looking at computational science and media engineering. And you can see the graphic there, but how can we use computational methods to improve videos and other aspects of digital media. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Great. Okay. So that's it for me. I think I more or less stayed within the time I was meant to stay within. You can find out a lot more, of course, about our engineering program online, tcd.ie/engineering, where you can see details of more of the modules that I didn't have time to go through here, especially in years 3, 4, and 5. And you'll see the increasing specialization that happens in those years, and many more links to information about our research projects. Okay, thank you, Mel.
Thank you very much, Brian, and that was very thorough, and I'm very excited about the engineering program, and thank you so much everybody for listening. Now it's Q&A session. I would like you to put your questions in the chat box. We'll take them one by one. So thank you so much. Looking forward to your questions. But before, while we're waiting for questions to come in, I have a number of questions I received through the email, and perhaps there's a particular one that Brian, you would like to talk about. And I have received a lot of questions on students are confused about the pure engineering degree and the engineering with management course. So both are excellent degree programs, but students are sometimes struggling to decide which one to go for. So Brian, would you be able to share your expertise on?
Yes, I can, certainly. So our main engineering program is really the one that I've described in my presentation, but we have another engineering program called Engineering with Management. And this is a smaller program in terms of class size. There's only, I think, 30 students a year in that class. The structure of the course parallels very much the regular engineering course that I just described, in that you have the option for 4 years or 5 years. And what's different, of course, is that students select to follow that particular program right from the word go. So they apply directly to study engineering with management, rather than waiting until year 3 to choose their engineering specialization, as they do in the more general standard engineering program. So the differences in terms of academic content, of course, is that there's this greater emphasis on management, but in particular this use of scientific tools, many of them based upon information technology and on the use of statistics to guide management decisions. The management that's examined in that program is essentially, or is mainly concerned with the management for the manufacturing industries, which where there's a very large need. Many of you will know or should know that as engineers progress through their career, they move from being people who work on technical projects day to day. As they get older, they move more into leading teams and managing projects. So sooner or later, most engineers end up as managers as one form or another. And this program is really designed for the people who are attracted by that prospect and they want to skill themselves up with the tools that they need to be really successful at that from an early stage. But in terms of the engineering content, mostly the engineering content within the engineering management program is similar to what's studied by mechanical engineering students.
Thank you very much, Brian. So we have a question coming from Tanya. She wants to know that if there's any scholarships available for engineering programs. Like I said earlier on, we do have a number of scholarships opportunities, depends on some are available to all students, some are available to non-EU students, the likes of E3 undergraduate scholarship. It is only available for non-EU students. There's another question coming in from Rachel. She wants to know, can students enter into year 2 if they come from, in this case, is from Singapore Polytechnic diploma? So Brian, would you be able to answer the question, please?
Yes, we do. We do accept students into start in years other than first year. It's a small number of students each year, but it is very much possible to do that. There's a separate application procedure for that, and if she was to email the international engineering email address in Trinity, that could be set out for her. We look at each student in that case individually. We look at their academic achievements before they entered university, but also very much how well they've done once they entered university. And on that basis, students can enter into year 2 or indeed sometimes even year 3 of our program. That happens a few times every year.
Great. And so Ashley wants to know, how many modules or courses are you allowed to take a semester? Are they fixed modules, or you can choose a number of modules as you wish?
Yeah. So in first year, all the modules are mandatory. There is no choice. In second year, it's nearly the same again, but there is one module at that stage that you can choose, and will be a broad a Trinity elective module, which, as I said, can cover almost anything really, not just engineering. The big choice then happens at the end of second year to start of third year, where you choose which stream to go into. And as you go from year 3 to year 4 and year 5, the number of mandatory modules reduces and the number of optional modules increases. So that by the time students get to 4th year and 5th year, in fact, probably I'd say approximately 1/3 of the modules are mandatory and 2/3 are picked from a list of options. There is also, in terms of choice, there is also that option that I identified and spoke about in my presentation, that in 4th year students have a number of different ways in which they can complete 4th year, which involves internships and exchanges and project work, as well as choosing the modules that they like for themselves.
Great. And Emmanuel wants to know, generally, what modules do engineering students like the most? Or which one, the ones that are the dislikes ones?
Yeah, there are so many students and they all like different things. So some students are attracted into engineering because they're strong in mathematics, for instance, and those students continue to really like and enjoy mathematics as they go through the course. Other students aren't that way inclined, and they like the much more applied modules that look at the application of mathematics and science to the development of new technology. And in addition to that, there's a third type of module that we have, which is a project-based module. And in each year in Trinity, you will have at least one large project-based module to complete. And in that, students are set a challenge in which they have to draw on everything that they're learning in their course, their mathematical skills, their scientific knowledge, the technology that they're aware of, to tackle a real-world problem. For instance, like the design of an improved way of producing renewable energy or something like that, or a way of improving the design of hospitals or a piece of medical equipment. And most students tend to really like that type of work as well. Sometimes that's carried out as an individual, and sometimes it's carried out as a group. And again, some students really like that group aspect of working together.
Great. I have a question from Connor. Connor is asking, as a mature student in Ireland, is their interview normally held over April, May for mature students?
Yes, yeah, there is. Now, I'm not directly involved in that myself, Connor, but there is a process there that involves applications at that time of year. And again, I'm not certain about the application deadline for that, and the School of Engineering would be able to help you with that. But that's the normal way you apply, and then there are interviews. And I see as well that in your question as well, and the chat that you mentioned about academic results only being considered. You know, for mature students, obviously people have a larger life story to talk about there, and whereas we will look really, really strongly at their academic achievement, because there's no point letting somebody on the course who's not going to be able to do well in it. And if they're able to provide evidence from other aspects of their life, especially what they've done in work, to show that they're strong enough to survive the course, then that will be taken into account as well.
Okay, great. I see a number of questions are focusing on the, are a bit concerned about the next intake, given the current circumstances we're in, and some of them are waiting to receive an offer, and there may be some disruption in your application. If you have very specific question relating to your application, my recommendation is to contact academic.registry@tcd.ie to get an update on your application. As I said earlier, that the university is still monitoring incoming emails. Applications are still being processed as normal. So please do get in touch with Academic Registry's office. There is another question from Silva. For which engineering field is university famous for? So Brian, would you be able to help with that?
Yeah, okay. So we were, as a university, I mean, Trinity was one of the first universities in the world to establish a School of Engineering, and it did that right back in the 1850s. So in that time, we've had a lot of achievements, but I expect you're probably more interested in what's the most important areas right now. And certainly I can point to the whole area of biomedical engineering as being a really important field for us. A second field that's important is in multimedia production. And one of my colleagues, in fact, won an Academy Award a few years ago for his involvement in video processing for special effects. And again, in robotics as well, we're strong, but especially robotics applied again to the biomedical field. Another of my colleagues featured on the front of Time magazine earlier in the year. Well, in fact, he didn't feature on the front of it, but a robot that he has developed for healthcare applications and is being used and rolled out in the United States, that was featured on on the front of Time magazine. So those are fields in which we're really well known for globally, in which we have really substantial achievements.
Great. Right, because we have limited time here, and thank you so much for all your questions, and for those of you who have more questions, you're more than welcome to contact us at e3.team@tc.e. While at the end, I would like to thank you for those who raised the questions. I think this is a very productive session. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Here, I want to particularly thank Professor Broderick for his time. I'm not sure about you, but I certainly have learned a lot about the programs. If this is an area you're interested in, as you can see the scope and benefit Trinity offers, not just to you as a student, but to your longer term career post-graduation. So we're here to help you in the E3 office. If you have any further questions on the program or on the student live in Trinity, you can contact us at e3.team@tcd.ie. So thank you all very much for your time and interest. I wish you a very enjoyable rest of the day, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining in, and thank you, Brian.
Okay, thank you, Matt.